All right, everybody, welcome here to week two. Flying right along here as summers typically do. Again, kind of an at least history side, action-packed week of topics. The first one, which hopefully you've gotten through because you've got a quiz today on it, is Africa, the Atlantic world. So I tried to I think Africa is probably the least understood area or least covered. So hopefully you have a better idea of just the geography of Africa, different regions, how it's sort of comprised, how big it is. Entire America, China. I think that graph of infographic of all the countries that can fit in Africa it's a big country, a lot of people, a lot of diversity. Yeah, and then triangular trade was the other one. How all these how the Africa integrated with the Americas, integrated with Europe, and all of how that played, and that kind of is the next phase from after a sort of the early expansion. Once people get set up in the Americas, they create an economic system there. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the other part of that, the African diaspora, that kind of affects culture, the impact, influence of Africanness within the Americas. Was there. The reading for that week was Equiano. The abolition movement is all part of that as well, and he was a big figure in that. And then that ties with the first 3 weeks, or week one, the first three lessons for this quiz that you can take today. I gave a discussion, sort of overview of the quiz for you to take a look at. Yeah, and then we switch. Now we're switching to this idea of modernity. Like, how do we get to the modern? What does that phase go through? I think I mentioned that a lot of that is sort of refracted through a lot of things that were going on in Europe, because things that were going on in Europe were then adapted and spread globally, and we'll see through first colonization and later imperialism. But just kind of wanted to walk through some of that stuff. This breaking up of religion, of Christianity, into another branch of Protestantism, and then what that process was like in Europe, and then how that played overseas, because now you have Catholics and Protestants as another element of this three G's, right, of God, glory, and gold. And then those questions of religion play into science, right, and vice versa. People are coming up with this idea that heliocentrism, that the sun is the center of our universe, not the earth, it seems pretty commonplace now, but at the time that was somewhat shattering. And it did. And then you can kind of think with these new ideas and religion kind of breaking up, and just a lot of thoughts going on, a lot of changes. This idea of natural laws, how can we understand the world around us, and using new technologies as industrialization comes up, to allows better instruments. And then kind of that natural law idea then gets played out in society, right? And that's kind of what these Enlightenment, these philosophers were doing, right? What are the natural laws that dictate human interactions, governments? Is there ways we can perfect those or understand them better? And that's really what I kind of went through a few examples of them. These ideas of liberty, equality, that start people kind of or John Locke's tabula rasa, right? That we're all blank slates. And if that's the case, then we should all be equal, right? And not just European males, but everyone, women, people from Africa, slaves, people in Asia, right? That these ideas spread, this idea of equality, not right away, but we can already see people talking about it. Equiano, in the abolition movement, and then Mary Wollstonecraft, who I gave that reading, Vindication of the Rights of Women, very famous text, 1792, I think, where she advocates, like, if we're going to be true about this, like, let's do it. I think that reading really talks particularly about education, that women should be educated, and that we shouldn't be held back, and then kind of put in that women shouldn't be just put sort of the domestic roles, that women are just as smart as men, and they should be educated and have these advantages. So yeah, that was one of the readings. The other reading there I think was kind of nice. Kind of shows you the other side, the life of the monarchs, a day in the life of Louis XIV, who was the Sun King. So you kind of get to see the absolute monarchy. I mean, his whole life is regimented. People are just watching him like eat soup in the morning, which I thought was kind of nice. Image, and then we get into the economic side of things, industrialization. So hopefully you have a better idea. Excuse me. of uh, of the process of industrialization, how it kind of came, why it started in England with access to near rivers of minerals, near rivers, coal and iron, and then excuse me, the industrialization of production. Right, it starts in the textile industry and kind of a new advances in one element, quicker spinning mules and shuttles. Like you can get these textile mills, and then and that's the other part of it, right? You need vast amounts of raw materials, the cotton, to make these manufactured goods, and then those just kind of every industry set up factories and bringing labor to the factories, which sets up all sorts of class issues and status, wages, all of those things. Then you have people critiquing this. One, Adam Smith, I kind of talked about the reading there, kind of talks about the essence of capitalism. If you have a surplus, you can trade it. And then Marx, right, is one of the big people who critique the system, right? Is capital the best? What is it? How do we explain the exploitative sides of this system? So, yeah, I think that's all the topics. That's a lot. But that's the case of the summer. These would all be weeks amongst themselves, but I think you can do it. It sounds like you're coming along. Your discussion posts were good. Again, the quiz today, get that done. You have all day today to take it, and then this write up at the end. Just kind of go use it to kind of reflect back. Pick a architectural place, some specific spot, and then explain in your own words why you think it relates to the age of expansion. And I kind of leave it open on the guide. I gave there's a lot of examples that I give. You can choose one of those. You can pick your own. Just try to connect it back to age of expansion. Show why it connects to the topics we've been covering up till now. Excellent. I think that's it. Have a good rest of your day.